Welcome to today's Explainer. I am super excited you're here. So let's just dive right into this, because today we're talking about someone you probably hear about all the time, but you might picture him in a really specific way. When you think of Jesus, what actually comes to mind? Maybe you see a guy in a spotless, glowing white robe, standing in a stained glass window, looking super serious and maybe even kind of hovering off the ground. Well, today, we're going to absolutely shatter that stained glass window. We're looking at some amazing insights that show Jesus lived a real, gritty, totally everyday human life. He wasn't floating above the world. He was right down here in the dirt with us.
Here's a quick question for you to think about. Did you know Jesus actually got tired? Think about how you feel after spending an entire Saturday cleaning your room, dragging the trash out, helping with yard work, or just finishing up a massive mountain of homework. You just flop down on the couch, totally exhausted, right? Your feet ache, your brain feels like complete mush. Well, guess what? Jesus felt that exact same way. He wasn't superhuman in some way that kept him from feeling physical exhaustion. He totally knew what it was like to have tired muscles and a crazy long to-do list.
Section 1. Growing up with hard work.
From his earliest years, the Savior's life was one of poverty. He wasn't born into some wealthy family with servants running around to do his chores. His childhood days were filled with actual physical toil. He worked incredibly hard at the carpenter's bench. And remember, they didn't have power saws or electric sanders back then. This meant heavy lifting, getting splinters, swinging a heavy hammer, and just sweating it out in the heat. The source material tells us he carried the burdens of his family, taking on heavy responsibilities, which meant he often became really weary. He was a hard worker who absolutely knew the value of getting his hands dirty.
And he was working in what our source calls a corrupt age. What does that even mean? Well, think about walking down a school hallway or sitting in the cafeteria where everyone's gossiping, being kind of fake, or picking on each other. It can be super easy to just kind of join in, right? To just act like everyone else. But despite all of that negativity, Jesus' life was uncorrupted. Even though he was completely surrounded by artificial and wicked people, he stayed hardworking and pure. He was totally uninfluenced by the bad attitudes around him. He never let their bad behavior change his good character.
Section 2. Finding peace in nature.
So when the hard work and all those mean people got to be just a bit too much, Jesus didn't just sit around and complain. He actually had a strategy. He escaped to the open fields. He just went outside, out in the scenes of nature. He found rest from all that hard toil. He basically used God's creation as the ultimate reset button. He looked beneath the surface of things, maybe watching a bird build a nest or figuring out how a flower grows, and he gathered knowledge from the mysteries of nature. It says this filled his heart with peace and joy. It was his way of finding spiritual food. So hey, next time you're super stressed, maybe put down the screen and go for a walk outside. It worked for Jesus.
Section 3. Outsmarting the spies. During his public ministry, Jesus had to deal with some seriously tricky people known as spies. Now, these aren't your cool secret agents with laser watches and gadgets. The source describes them as crafty and hypocritical men who continually watch Jesus. Think of them like the absolute worst kind of bullies on the playground. You know the ones, the kids who follow you around just waiting for you to say one wrong word so they can run and tell the teacher to get you in trouble. They were actively trying to catch something from his lips to create prejudice or unfair anger against him. They just wanted to make him look guilty of doing wrong.
And their whole game plan worked in 3 steps. Step 1, lay traps by asking tricky questions. They would walk right up to him in front of a big crowd and ask something super complicated, hoping he'd give a bad answer. Step 2, try to cause his condemnation by the people. Basically use that answer to get the crowd to turn against him. But here comes step 3. Jesus didn't get angry. He didn't yell, and he definitely didn't run away. He gave answers that were so incredibly smart, so perfect, that it totally exposed the spies' true sneaky nature. The result? The spies had to walk away totally confounded and confused. Jesus defeated their traps with pure wisdom.
It was such an embarrassing defeat for those bullies that it led to this amazing quote, "Never man spake like this man." In other words, no one had ever spoken like him before. It was a massive mic drop moment. Even the men who were sent to spy on his actions had to go back to their bosses and be like, look, we went to trap him, but we've literally never heard anyone drop truth bombs like that. We couldn't catch him. His words presented such an undeniable power of truth that even his enemies were totally amazed.
Section 4. Speaking with grace.
So, how can we copy that amazing, uncorrupted character today? Well, the source text gives us a direct instruction. First, let your conversation be with grace. That means talking nicely, even when you really don't feel like it. Second, blend compassion into everything you say. When your sibling annoys you or a friend makes a mistake, try to understand how they feel instead of just snapping at them.
Third, keep your manners gentle and unassuming. You don't have to be loud, bossy, or a massive show-off to be strong. Jesus' manners were gentle, and as his followers, we are meant to partake of that exact same nature.
Section 5. Being a daily learner.
Because let's be honest, acting like this isn't always easy, and nobody gets it perfect overnight. In fact, the source tells us we must be daily learners of the great teacher. Just like you have to practice a musical instrument every single day to get good at it, or run drills for your favorite sport, or level up your skills in a video game, you have to practice having the character of Christ. You gotta be a daily learner. Every single day you check in, you learn from him, and that is exactly what fills your soul with spiritual life and helps you stay uncorrupted, even when the world around you gets super messy.
Which brings us to a really important question that I want to leave you with today. The text reminds us that Christ is listening to the words you speak. So, as you head to school, hang out with your friends, or just talk to your family at dinner, will your words be filled with grace? Will you handle bullies with truth instead of anger? Are you going to work hard and find peace in nature? It's a daily choice, guys. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for this explainer. Keep learning, keep practicing, and I'll catch you next time.